During one of my first years teaching, as we headed into the winter break, I received a note from one of my fourth grade students. It said, "Dear Miss Thorkilsen, you've been a great teacher so far. Love, Carly." So far, fair enough. For the first part of the year, you were great, but who knows what could happen second part of the year. As an elementary classroom teacher for 20 years, I've spent a lot of time working with kids, then teachers, and I'm now the mother of twins. And I can say from my experience that not only do children speak truth, they're brilliant. And they remind us of truth in a way adults often don't. When we're in the company of a child, we're in the company of someone who is an expert in honesty. Not just honesty in the factual sense, but in something deeper. The truth of emotions, the truth of what's really occurring, the truth of the human spirit. Kids help us remember who we are at our core, the parts of us that can feel like they're buried underneath the expectations, responsibilities, and self-doubt that can accumulate over time. For example, I was in the Wakefield post office, and a girl walked in and said to the line that had formed behind her, "Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to see me dance?" Or a kindergarten student I asked him, "Oliver, what are you wondering about?" And he said, "I'm wondering, where are the edges in space?" Or a mother feeling frustrated and frazzled, and her daughter came in and looked at her and said, "You don't look pretty, but your heart feels beautiful." I'd like you now to pause for a moment and think of any children you know, personally or not, and words that come to mind when you think of them. And we'll pretend you're in my classroom right now. We'll do a little teacher talk. When you have 3 words, give me a quiet thumbs up like this. Remember, I'm a longtime teacher. I have no problem holding that uncomfortable wait time for everybody to be ready. I can kind of see you. So when I ask this question to teachers in the workshops I facilitate, here are some of the words that are most commonly said. Raise your hand if you have one of these words or something similar. Truthfulness. Joy. Wonder. Creativity. Playfulness. Inhibition. Loving. Curiosity. I know we could go on. Children haven't lost their sense of wonder, their connection to joy, their ability to live in the present moment. They haven't lost their ability to tell the truth because kids can't help but live their truth. They live from the place all truth flows from, deep authenticity. We think as adults that we refine our ability to express and understand truth as we grow up. But I would offer the opposite can happen. Adults in many ways lose their grip on honesty. We filter, we hedge, we avoid. Children, on the other hand, see what's here and say it out loud. Ultimately, they speak from their hearts. And if we really listen, we can learn not only about them, but about ourselves. This is because kids reveal truths about us. They point to things that we might not want to see or that we might ignore. For example, one of my colleagues one day, she lost her cool with a student, and she was yelling. And when she finished, this child looked up at her and said, "Your breath smells like coffee." Or a time I was in the cafeteria, 4th grade lunch, and one of my 4th graders, he was yelling, "Roar!" I said, "Connor, inappropriate." And he looked at me and said, "Roar." It's easy to laugh at these moments, but what if we took them seriously? What if, instead of dismissing kids as just cute, we really listened? What if we let them be our teachers? What would we learn about ourselves? This is how I got into the business of the work I'm doing now, working with teachers to explore how we can reconnect with our own inner truths, these qualities in which kids are the experts, and in doing so, form deeper connections with students. Let me back up a little bit, how it started. It was COVID. I was teaching kindergarten on Zoom. You can imagine what that was like. And I faced intense burnout along with my colleagues. And before we could heal from that, we faced new challenges as students returned to in-person learning. The overwhelm was tangible, and kids knew it. They spoke to it in their spot-on and incredible ways, like a teacher sipping a small glass of apple juice at lunch and a student leaning over and asking, "Scotch?" It was during this time I realized in deeper ways than I had before that we really need to listen to kids, learn from them. Again, not just when they're being cute or making us laugh, but when they're pointing to these harder truths, our own contradictions, really where we've lost the thread in ourselves of what's most important, when we've lost connection to these qualities in which they're the experts on, our own joy, our own wonder, our own inner truths. And this is something I get to now live firsthand every day. I spend most of my time with our 11-month-old girls, and I can be one of those over-planner, thinking, overthinking, doing lots of things, trying to be productive. And when I'm with them, but not really with them, writing that email up in my head or, just too much ahead of the moment, they let me know. Not in words, they can't speak yet, but it's like they have this magic way of saying, be here with me right now in this moment. They help me connect with my presence, reconnect with it, and that's a gift. As adults, we can think that it's our job to teach children how to tell the truth, how to behave, how to be better versions of themselves. But I would invite us to consider something else, that it goes both ways. Kids inspire us to be better versions of ourselves. And by better, it's really returning to what's already there, what they're helping us remember. Because kids don't just remind us of who we were, they help us remember who we are, who we really are, and who we want to be. Thank you.